So we're going to go ahead and get started, and this is being recorded, so anybody who wants to watch it later can feel free to follow along and watch it later. As I mentioned in the little comment section, my name is Steve Young. I am the Instruction and Reference Librarian here at Life Pacific. When you have research questions or problems, I'm the one you want to contact. Typically, you just kind of send me an email, or if you want to do the Skype for Business, look up my syoung at lifepacific.edu. And we can start one of these conversations and work our way through some of the instruction. So a big part of my job is trying to get students and faculty to know what's available here at LPC and how to effectively access it. In this webinar, we're also going to discuss resources beyond LPC and basic understanding of the research process. So this is kind of where we're going to go in the next hour or so. And this is our agenda, but we're going to look at what is available at LPC. Not only books, for those of you who live close by, and for those of you who are at a distance, also all of our journals. We'll talk about the research process. That's going to be the bulk of our conversation, kind of trying to get into what to do and how to do that sort of thing. I look at it as a three-step process. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about what's available outside of LPC, using things like Google Scholar, Interlibrary Loan, and even using libraries beyond LPC. We finish with a Q&A, so if you've got your research question or topic ready for your lit review or for your capstone project, we can talk about that now, or maybe help you think in terms of how to narrow that down. What is available at Life Pacific? If you were on campus, I'd mention our 40,000 volumes here in the library, but that really is only a small portion of what's available. Through our catalog, WorldCat Discovery System, we can search books, including our 150,000 ebooks, which are hosted by EBSCO, and many of our databases. We have online digital reference materials. When you hear that, you ought to think Wikipedia, but acceptable for academic work. And included in that is our Credo digital reference, and we will spend a good deal of time discussing something like Credo. We have dozens of databases. A database, if you are not aware, is a collection of subscriptions to similar journals and magazines, typically by field of study. So we have business databases, we have biblical studies databases, we have a psychology and educational database, and we have access to thousands of journals and millions of articles through Life Pacific. We also have some guides and tutorials to help you with your use of the library. There are many such guides called LibGuides, and they are found at lifepacific.libguides.com. Again, there it is posted right in front of you. And I would recommend that you might want to bookmark that or write that down now, and definitely bookmark that in your browser so that you can access that at a later time. All right, so how to get to those LibGuides. Here we are at the lifepacific.edu webpage, and I am going to go simply to Student. You'll notice that the fifth line down here is Library. I'm going to go ahead and click on Library. And this takes us to the Life Pacific College Library webpage. And on this left-hand side here, where the cursor is floating around here, it says LibGuides. And here's a list of our most popular, including things like our MASL guide to the library and video tutorials. Here's one on research strategies and online search techniques. All of those would be excellent for you to use at different times. I'm going to go ahead and click on this one here that says click here to see all of our LibGuides. And this takes us to this lifepacific.libguides.com. You'll notice that there are three different kinds of LibGuides. There are course guides, and this is a list of all the guides that are designed for our specific courses, including a series of about 6 or 7 of them here for the MASL program. So I've made roughly half of your classes have a LibGuide, and those are intended to help you with those courses. We have subject guides. Close that and open up subject guides. Now, many of these are actually created by some of our databases. ProQuest here, Credo is mentioned here, and so those are linked to various outside resources, and those are great for helping you with some of those research problems as well. We also have general purpose guides, and these are really geared towards the how to do something. So how to do citation, we have citation guide. Here we have our web page, which is listed as one of those. Here's again that MASL guide to the library, and so forth. So I believe that's the first one I'm going to So I'm going to go ahead and click on this MASL guide to the library. You'll notice that it has several tabs. So this first tab here is library orientation. So if you were just starting your MASL program, here are a series of 6 videos, less than 30 minutes worth of video, and it would basically introduce you to what to do here at the library, including the very first one, which is how to log into to our discovery system. If you haven't watched that and followed that one, you really need to. It's necessary as off-campus students. We also have things like contact information, your borrowing privileges, reserve materials, and some other things about searching and that. So it's a great source for you as an MASL student. So here we are back to the webinar, the PowerPoint, and now I'm going to talk in terms of the research process. I tend to think of it as a 3-step process. The 3 steps for a research process include 1, introduction. And here you basically use what we refer to as reference materials. When you hear that term, you ought to be thinking in terms of dictionaries, encyclopedias, atlases, those kind of things that are intended to give you a basic introduction to an idea. You use this in the research process because they will introduce you to the technical terms, the names of theories and theorists, dates that might be important as you begin your research process. So it's really a good idea to start with reference material in order to get the technical terms that you will be using later in your research. So it's a very important idea, and this is a step that most people would use Wikipedia for. Well, we actually have material to replace Wikipedia, so you don't need to do that. Really, we talk in terms of using reference material that's available through the library. The second step is called digging deeper. And here we use monographs. So monographs are books about a single subject. So you're going to find books in that section. And third being complete and current. And there you're talking about journal articles and such that you're going to need for your lit review and for research. So those are the 3 steps. And so we're going to spend about 40 minutes going through steps. Let's get started here. So when we talk about introduction, reference material, as again, we're trying to learn key terms or technical terms. You want to use the proper vocabulary for the topic. Knowing the proper terminology will help you as you begin your deeper research. You are trying to learn about the breadth and depth of a topic. You want to become familiar with those theorists and authors as well as dates and theory names. So let me give you an example using one of our online reference materials. Getting to our library's website. So here we are back at lifepacific.edu, again, student and library, and that takes us to our web page. So here we are at the web page, and I want to take us to our reference materials. So here at the library, we look at this web page, we see that we have policies listed, contact information, and here it says resources, and this is a link to the various resources found here at the library. The center column deals with databases, but we're looking for digital reference. So here on the right-hand column, digital reference materials, and the third one down is called Credo reference. So I'm going to go ahead and click on this, and this will take me to Credo digital reference. Now, if you're off campus, you may need to log in at this point. So here I am on the home page. You'll notice this includes something like, here it is, 796 reference books. So that's entire sets of encyclopedias and dictionaries that are available to you. So this is much more than just Encyclopedia Britannica or even larger than Wikipedia. So this is stuff that's available for you for academic work. So I'm here on Credo reference, and I'm going to look up something with one particular idea. We're going to try to look for a topic, pretending that you're looking for ministering or having a congregation that is multiracial or multi-ethnic. So I'm going to type in the word multiculturalism. So I type in multiculturalism just as you would into Google or into Wikipedia. And here I have a topic page and a whole number of reference entries. I want to go to the topic because this is going to give me a general introduction to the topic and will lead me to other sources. Normally, if I were doing research, I'd want to read the entire article. You'll notice it says continue reading, which means that this is a much larger entry. It's not just what appears here in the box. Now, what I would want to do is I'd want to read through this and start to find words and concepts that might be more technical. It might give me an idea of what are the technical terms for this issue, not just multiculturalism, culturally diverse populations and things like that. So it's going to give me some of these ideas. Over here on the right-hand side, it says related topics. These are other ways to expand your understanding of the idea. It may even help you go off onto a tangent. It's not uncommon at this point of the research process to actually modify or change your topic. So here you might be thinking in terms of multiculturalism. Here you might actually want to think in terms of human rights or immigration within a multicultural congregation. So those are important aspects to helping you to understand the research process, trying to add to and broaden your perspective on things. Now, one of the great things about doing this kind of research and using this digital reference material is you'll notice at the very bottom of this article, it has different citation formats. And this is true for the vast majority of our electronic resources. They almost all have a citation generation feature. Now, since you're working on the MASL, your entire program is based on the APA style. So you will always want to make sure that you're clicking on the APA, and what we have here is the entire citation that would go into your Works Consulted page, your reference page. It's not what would go into the parentheses for your in-text citation, but that is what goes into the article. You can typically find the citation up by the top of an article, somewhere near where you're going to find save or print or email your article. Most of our digital reference has that sort of thing. So here I could again cite according to APA, and up comes a pop-out. Word of caution, whenever you use a citation generation, whether that's what comes from the database itself, or if you're using Zotero or EndNote or EasyBib for that matter, you always need to double check the citation with the actual style guide. These are computer generated, and they often confuse authors and editors. And so instead of having one author and one editor, it might cite it as having two authors. So just a word of advice, you always want to double check that. So we move from general reference here, where we're trying to get our introduction, our feet wet, trying to figure out the terms. Now we want to move on to our second step in the process, which is going to be digging deeper as we begin to look at monographs. So we move from basic research using general reference material to digging deeper by using monographs, or possibly even a topical encyclopedia. A monograph is a book about a single subject. You typically find these books by searching the library catalog. Your goal in this part of the research strategy is to find the subject heading for your topic and use it to find all the books about your subject. The subject heading is the technical vocabulary used by librarians for describing topics of study. Books and articles are now often assigned subject headings. The search strategy here is to find that one book that appears to be most appropriate and then use its subject headings to find all of the rest dealing with that same topic. We're going to now talk about how to search a catalog or using a database. Here's where we use that information learned from the general reference materials, those technical terms. We will search using keywords. A keyword search is what most people do when they Google something. Here we enter one or more of those keywords and hope to find books related to our subject. So now here at the home page on our library page is this nice little search box. That's not, well, it's a link to our catalog, but that's not the best way to search. And so I'm going to click this advanced search page, and that's going to take us to our WorldCat discovery system. This is our catalog. We've switched from WorldCat local over the summer, and so we are now using this. It's the same basic system, but with a few different tweaks to it, and it's a little more graphic than the past catalog was. So we've gotten to our library catalog, and this takes us to WorldCat Discovery System. So at this point, you may need to log in. If you were doing your own research and wanted to save anything or request materials, you'll definitely want to log in. There is a video on how to do that. Let's see if I can go backwards. Here's that link again to how to log into WorldCat Discovery. Again, it just tells you how to sign in using this little sign in button over here. So if there was a phrase or the name of a theory, that you can use that here as well. If it is a phrase that is more than a single keyword, you would want to put that in quotations marks, such as pastoral ministry. Now, because that's not just a single word. We would actually want to put that into quotations to tell the computer to search for that phrase. And that's an important aspect of doing research. This would eliminate some of the bad or incorrect stuff in a search where it would look for pastoral and ministry. So I'm going to interrupt myself and give you a little research hint. Keep a research log. Every time you search for something, write down the exact query, including quotation marks. If you entered something into that keyword box, you want to write it down so that you're not wasting time later doing the same search over and over again. If in your research you wanted to look for a particular theorist or a particular author, you could enter that right here into the box, whatever author I might want to look up, and change this from keyword, because I know the author, I might change that to author. If I actually know the name of a journal, I could do it as a journal source. Keyword to get you started, and a little bit we'll talk about subject headings. Let's go ahead and enter in a keyword. And we were talking about our possible topic of ministering in a multicultural church. So I'm going to type in multiculturalism and pastoral. So I enter those two keywords, and I'm going to click on the search, and that's actually going to take us to what's known as the results page. And so here we have a list of all of the results. We have 439 that came up with the keywords multiculturalism and pastoral. Right now it's searching over here on the left. You see that it's searching the libraries worldwide as opposed to just Life Pacific. And we've got different types of formats, articles, chapters, and books. So let's take a look at this and pick one that sounds good. Again, our goal is to find one subject heading and search by that subject. So in Living Color, an intercultural approach to pastoral care and counseling, that sounds like a great one. Church and Cultures and Leadership, a Practical Theology of Congregations and Ethnicities. Again, these are some great topics. So I'm going to go ahead and click this second one just for the sake of things. So where then in this materials page would I find the subject headings? I'm going to open up description. It tells me where it's published, who's the publisher, ISBN for the book. One of the great things is it tends to give you a table of contents, so that would tell me what's in this book. But lastly, it has here subjects. These are what I'm looking for. Multiculturalism, religious aspects of Christianity, church and minorities in the United States, pastoral theology in the United States, church and minorities, pastoral theology. So you've got some great topics to choose from. So if I click this multiculturalism, religious aspects, Christianity, it's going to give me a new list. It gives me 835 results, and all of these books are dealing with multiculturalism and religious aspects of Christianity. So it's a great way of narrowing or broadening or exactly finding the books that are about my topic. One of the important things there is to take the time to write down these subject headings, because you're going to want to use that same subject heading probably in all of the databases to find the articles dealing with the exact same topic. All right, let's pretend that this results list was not exactly what I was looking for, that for some reason my keywords didn't match up with the subject I'm really wanting to look for. And that can happen. So one of the next things I want to do is find the actual subject headings. So not just looking here, but there is the keeper of the subject headings, and that's the Library of Congress. So I'm going to type in here catalog. Catalog.loc, that's for the Library of Congress, .gov. Again, that's catalog.loc.gov. Wouldn't be a bad idea to bookmark this as well. So we're going to go ahead and click this. And here I am at the Library of Congress as part of their website. And I want to browse this site. And you'll notice that it says I'm looking for different things. I want to browse, not titles. I want to search for subjects containing. And so here I'm going to enter in something that would be related to our subject. Now we enter a keyword that seems most appropriate and click search. Our goal is using this site is to find the most correct subject heading that we can use to search our WorldCat catalog even better. If you want to find a better or more accurate term than, say, ministry, you would enter it and then browse through all those pages. So even if I were to enter ministry just on this site, this would give me a whole lot of things because it might talk about finance ministry and all of those things. So you would end up clicking through page after page in order to find one that might be more appropriate than just ministry. It can take a long time, but remember, research is messy and precision in your research takes time. Always read the notes, especially if they're available. So here's the Afghanistan Ministry of Defense, but it says I really should be looking at Afghanistan. I should have picked a different example. But anyways, there's a different way of looking at that. It says there are 239 pages, roughly 6,000 results dealing with the subject containing the word ministry. Maybe I should have said, instead of subject containing, how about subject beginning with, and then search. That should give me a fewer items. All right, doesn't tell me how many, but ministry, see church work, clergy office, or pastoral theology. So any of those would lead me down a different road in my research. So I might actually want to take pastoral theology back to my catalog and search for pastoral theology. And again, that's not a keyword, that's actually a subject heading. And click search. And so now all of these things have as a subject pastoral theology, and I have 20,000 results. So quite a bit, but if I were to add something like the term multiculturalism, again, that would narrow it down to pastoral theology of that. Go ahead and make a comment here. If you wanted more information about how to use the subject headings and how to find them in the Library of Congress, there is a LibGuide entitled Online Search Techniques, and it actually has a page devoted entirely to how to find subject headings. The other pages in that LibGuide on the online search techniques cover things like how to connect terms with Boolean operators and using wildcards. Good stuff. Highly recommend it for a search technique. It would even help you to Google better. But for the purpose of this webinar, we're looking not necessarily at search technique, but research strategy. So finding subject headings is an important one. Let's go back to advanced search keyword. And I'm going to enter one keyword, multiculturalism. And you'll notice that got us over 70,000 entries. That is just too many. To change that, we use limiters to find just those that will help us. Now, if you're using this at a distance and you only want ebooks, there on the left, under formats, are just the ebooks. So you would want to just click that, and that would just give you the 6,000 ebooks that are available. You'll notice that many of them are available here at Life Pacific, and you'd click View Online, and that would take you to the book itself. The next thing you want to do is to limit those ebooks to just what's available at Life Pacific. Go ahead and click this Life Pacific, and now you're down to 663 ebooks dealing with the keyword multiculturalism. So that's a great thing. Now, let me go back to our presentation and talk about the issue of what if Life Pacific doesn't have what you're looking for? If LPC doesn't have your book? I want to cover two ways of dealing with the fact that Life Pacific does not have every resource in the world. The first is called the ATLA Reciprocal Borrowing Program. The second is actually using another library. So we're going to talk about the ATLA Reciprocal Borrowing Agreement. This borrowing agreement is an agreement between about 50 Christian colleges and seminaries that allows enrolled students in good standing to borrow from one another. In that MASL LibGuide, there was a tab called Borrowing ATLA Program. Look that up, look at the map, and you'll see if there's a school near you, a participating school that is near you. Now, before you go and try to borrow from that particular school, let us know what school you're trying to go to, because we need to call in advance and let them know who's coming and that you're a student in good standing. Basically, it means that you're keeping up with your bills. You may actually have to buy an annual pass or purchase a library card from that library, but then you can borrow any book from that library as well. That's expanding your ability to research. We would ask please obey all their rules and return everything in good condition and on time. It's a newish program. It's only about 2 years old, and there are new schools being added right now. So if you were to look at this, look at that particular flyer found on the MSL LibGuide, it would then explain kind of some of the borrowing agreement and allow you to borrow for some of those other libraries. It's a great, great idea. There is also the idea of going to another library. Our second method of resources, if LPC does not have it and time is running out or whatever, is to actually visit another library. Remember, we don't have borrowing agreements with all libraries, so we won't be able to check out those books, but you can probably use the book in the library itself, which is a great way to get some of this research done. Let me show you what I mean. Let's go back to this, and let's say I'm not looking for books, but physical books. Let's get rid of our Life Pacific requirement. So here I did a keyword search on multiculturalism. I'm back up to 28,000. These are actually books that are in print. 20,000 books that are in print. And you'll notice that a whole bunch of these are held by Life Pacific. But let's say I click on a title. Let's pretend it wasn't here at Life Pacific. Under this level where it says availabilities and holdings, I can actually come down here to where it says libraries worldwide, and I can enter in a zip code. I can enter in an address, and it will then list all the schools or all the libraries that have that book near that address. Now I'm just going to pick a 86535. I have no idea where that is in the country, but I'm clicking that. It looks like it's near nowhere. Bad example, but if you were to click on any of these libraries, you would then see these libraries all own this particular library. If that zip code is where you lived, you would notice that you're 262 miles away from Phoenix Seminary or something like that. So it's a way to find other libraries that own the book, and if you live nearby, you can use it inside their building. Again, most libraries will allow people off the street as visitors as long as they abide by the library's rules and don't abuse anything. If I were to click on a particular link here, like this Phoenix Seminary Library, it would actually take me to their catalog and where I could find the call number and find it on the shelf. All right, we now move to the third stage of research. Now that we have covered general reference, and then we moved into monographs, we now turn our attention to the third and final step in the research process, articles. Here's where we talk about being complete and current. Articles are shorter than monographs and usually take less time to write. That means that the turnaround time from start of research to the point of publication is far less. Articles, therefore, tend to be far more current than books. Your professors don't just want you to use anything. They want you to use the best material available. To ensure that some level of quality of research, your instructors will usually demand that your research comes from something academic, scholarly, refereed, or peer-reviewed. Those words basically mean the same thing. So we're now going to talk about the peer review process, and this is what's being presented here. Peer review is a process in which an article is judged and deemed worthy for publication. It goes something like this. An author, over here on the left, the author submits to an editor an article that they've written for review, and so it goes to the editor. The editor then can reject outright that article doesn't belong in our journal, so they might get rid of it. They might return it to the author for editing, or they send it for review, or they might publish it. And that probably doesn't happen right away. That would be incredibly rare. So the editor is going to select 2 or 3 experts, typically, in that field, and they're usually referred to as the peers. They are the peer reviews. So the peers reject the article, or they accept it, or again, they return it to be edited. So they're looking for the best material, and they really do want it to be the best. They're looking for currency, relevancy, uniqueness, and so forth. They want the article to be a contribution to the field and not just a rehashing of some of the old theories. If both of the reviewers like the work, it may be published. The reviewers and the editor may make suggestions for revisions to the article in order that it might be published. Rarely the article is accepted as is and is published after only the first review. This process is called peer review and is usually done without the author knowing the reviewers. The entire process tends to elevate the quality of work. It is scrutinized and is required to be of the highest quality. That is why your instructors require peer review materials. So how do you ensure that all your articles are peer reviewed? Simple. Just click the right box and the search engine will do the work for you. Let's go and find some articles that are peer reviewed. And again, because I'm looking for articles and databases, I am going to click this resources. And this takes me to our list of databases and our list of digital reference material. Again, this is where we found Credo, and this is where we're going to find various databases. One of the things that I am going to mention is there's this wonderful link up here that says pick the best resources link or the best resource chooser. This will take you to a page that will help you choose the best databases for your subject. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and click that now. And this brings me to a list of the 25 databases that Life Pacific subscribes to. What you want to do is pick your subject. So under subjects, we have art, because we do have an undergraduate degree dealing with art. Biblical studies and ministry, which may be what we're talking about, especially in terms of multicultural ministry. We have business, so we do have that aspect of your program that is business oriented. We have general studies, which is a little bit of everything, and at the undergraduate, we also deal with psychology, social work. So if we pick biblical studies ministry, you'll notice that it found 7 databases that are specifically geared towards biblical studies and ministry. The 2 best bets are this ATLA religion database with Atlas serials, also known as Atlas. There's another one here that's listed, the IVP Bible dictionaries, and this is all available. This is available through the Credo reference. These are things like the Dictionary of Jesus, the Four Gospels, Dictionary of Paul and his letters. There's some great materials there, but it's not going to help anything with the ministry topic that we're talking about. So aside from the ATLA religion database, Atlas, we have the Consortium Pentecostal Archives, we have the ebook collection, Oxford Biblical Studies, and this last one here, ProQuest Research Library. This has a little bit of everything, and it does include ministry and religion. So either ProQuest Research Library or Atlas, both of those would be wonderful for your lit review and for your capstone project. I'm going to recommend that you don't just search just one database and think that you have found everything. If you're doing a literature review, you really do need to broaden your perspective and not just search one, especially if you're looking for a lot of high quality materials. How do I search a database to find an article? Basically the same way that you did to find a book in the catalog. You enter desired information into the search box. I'm at the ATLA religion database. I'm going to go ahead and click on this. And this takes me to EBSCO. Now at this point, some of you, if you're off campus, are going to have to log in. Again, we have videos explaining how to do that. I'm going to click this EBSCO host web, and this will take me to the English version of the website. And here you notice several boxes in the upper left. That's just like any search engine you've seen, just like the catalog where you have entries. Now I want to set this to make sure that it's searching ATLA, Atlas, and so I'm going to choose the databases available. So I've got Atlas and it's checked. There's a few other databases that are selected. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of those because at this point I don't want them. Just wanting to search Atlas, and I click OK, and I'm now searching that one database. So now this is searching only the Atlas. So in this first box, I'm going to enter our subject heading. Remember, subject heading searches are the most efficient. So I'm going to type in, as we learned, pastoral counseling. Learned that from our Library of Congress. That actually is a subject heading. You'll notice it has several suggestions here. Most of those would fit under subject heading, but I want to click specifically pastoral counseling, and I change this drop-down box to subjects. I'm not searching the whole text. I'm not searching for an author named pastoral counseling or the title of an article. I'm coming down here to subjects. And I go ahead and hit search. And this now searches this database for articles with that subject. And I have 3,161 articles. That's a good start. Of course, I should limit that to just peer-reviewed articles. And so I'm going to come over here on the left-hand side, and I'll notice there's this link that says Limit to Scholarly Peer-Reviewed Journals. I click that and watch the number drop from 3,000 down to about 1,800. Now there are other limiters that should be used. Look on that left-hand side, and you'll see that we can change the subject. If you look down here, I could change subjects. Not necessarily the good thing in the middle of a research. I can change publication type. So if I was looking for articles, or if I wanted books, or if I wanted conference papers or abstracts, I'm just going to leave it as it is. Or we can even select language. Atlas searches all of its articles, some of which are published in German, some in French, some in Spanish. There's some Korean and several other languages, but for the most part, we're searching in English because that's what I use. So if I wanted to, I could actually select it and it would get rid of all of 100 articles. I don't need to do that at this point. I could also change by date, because if you'll notice here on the left-hand side, our publication date starts at 1931 and goes all the way to 2015. That's the most recent article dealing with pastoral counseling. Now I can change this in two ways. I can either highlight the date and type in something new, or I can drag this bar and move that left and right based on what I'm wanting to do. Now, changing the date is usually very important. Depending on the subject and the instructions of the professor, it is often the date that needs to be limited. Typically, articles are limited to 5 or 10 years. In many fields of study, anything over 5 years is considered useless. If we were working on the area of business finance, anything older 5 years ago, that's just no longer of any use. If you're dealing with biology or chemistry or cancer research or something like that, absolutely, anything over 5 years is no longer of use. Based on what you need to do for your work for your lit review, it might be 5 years, it might be 10 years, I'm not sure which they've gone with. But let's go ahead and change our little date from 1931 to 2010. We'll make it a 5-year search. And that takes us to just under 300. That would be a great list of things to look through. You could easily work through 300 items just looking at things like their subject headings, the title of the article, and the title of the journal. If you just looked at those three things, you could probably get through this list in about an hour. And in that, you would be able to find the articles that would be most important to you. Now, there is one last limiter. I don't like mentioning it, and it's the full text limiter. Here it is on the left, right here at the top. This is meant for those students, not any of you, I'm sure, but for those who put off research to the last minute. You see, full text limits to those that are available as PDFs. It eliminates all the articles that are available from other libraries, but just are not here in full text. All we have to do is ask for them. It typically takes a couple of days, so those students that wait might miss out on some of the best articles. One click on that full text limiter, and now our list is down to 103. That's a perfect amount to go through in about 10 minutes or so. Just read the subjects. They're all listed, and you'll notice the bold for pastoral counseling. The article titles and the title of the journal, and you'll know if it's right for what you're doing. Now, what if the item is not available through the database? That is, it's not here as a PDF. What if it's not available? You have two options to try. First, it's called interlibrary loan. Interlibrary loan is a process in which we request the article from another library. We request the article, and a PDF version of it usually shows up in 2 to 3 days. It can take longer, so start your research early. So how do you request an article? One, you want to take down all the information about the article, the author, the title, the name of the journal, and such, and then go back to our WorldCat discovery system. All right, so let's say I wanted this particular article, the effects of CP on primary relationships, and let's say it didn't have this link here. In other words, the article exists, but it's not available to us. So what you would want to do is take down things like the title, the authors, the source of the journal, and all of this information here, the issue number, the date, the page numbers. Those are absolutely important for us to be able to find an article. So you can take down all that information. You could use the cite feature, and this would have the APA reference. So again, you could use that to find the article itself. And you take this information, not all of it, but enough of the information that we should be able to find the article. So I'm going to look for this just by the title of the article. And I go back to our WorldCat discovery. So here I am back at our discovery system. Hopefully that looks familiar. So typically this is where we search for books, but we can also have it search parts of our databases. First, we change what databases we are searching. We find that on the bottom, all databases, and we can select all in the group, or we can select a couple and see if it's available. And then we save those changes. And now it's searching different databases, and I want to put that title back in. So there's the title. I'm no longer searching keywords, so I'm going to switch this down to a title. Now it's actually a single title as a phrase, so I'm going to go ahead and put that in quotation marks. Cross my fingers and hope that we find it. The issue is that it's actually searching multiple databases at one time, and so it is going to struggle and go slow typically. All right, so we have this article. We have it here. We could view it online. Here it is listed as from a different database, and again we have it from another database. So this is actually available in 3 different databases that we can access. So let's pretend we don't have it. So I'm picking it from the list. So this is the results list. I found the article I wanted, clicked on that, and so here it is. Now in this case we do have it available, but under availability of holdings, there's this wonderful item that says Request Item under Libraries Worldwide. If I were to click this button, this takes me to, this tells me I want a copy of the article, I need the dates, contact information and that sort of thing, your patron ID, that would be your student ID number, and your email address. When you submit that, that then comes to us as a submission that you want this article, and we will then pass that on to a number of schools, and we should get that back as an article and send that right back on to you. That's a wonderful way to get that, so to request the item. Another option for research that go beyond Life Pacific is Google Scholar. Before you search, you need to set it up for Life Pacific. So let's go to scholar.google.com. Again, that was scholar.google.com. In the upper right corner here, it has settings, the little settings widget. You're going to want to click that. And then on the left-hand side, there is something called library links. And this is hugely important that you want to do. Here, you can enter in any library that you actually have access to or have a relationship with. Here, I'm going to type in LPC. I don't want to type in Life Pacific, although I could, but I'm going to click LPC and search. And you'll notice that I have 2 items that show up. One says Life Pacific College ProQuest full text, and the other one says Life Pacific College Alumni Library Get from LPC. The only one you want to check is the Get from LPC. That is the only one that is current. These other links that sometimes show up if you type in Life Pacific, those are dead links. So all we want is the Get from LPC. Click Save, and now I'm ready to do some searching. And I want to go to the advanced search, so I click on this little arrow thing, and I'm going to try and search for multiculturalism. And pastoral, so I want to find pastoral theology, pastoral counseling, pastoral care, anywhere in the article. Again, I want to pick the last 5 years, so now when I hit search, it's going to search all of its all that it can access. All right, let me go back. I just actually eliminated something that I was trying to do. Well, let's go ahead and keep going with what I've got here. So you'll notice here on the right-hand side it says PDF. So there are PDFs that are available. So that would be a digital form of the paper. And what I hope to show you is, ta-da! Here is one that says Get from LPC. That means it's actually available through our own library. You can click on that and you would have complete access to it. Some of these that actually say PDF, are not actually available to you. You would click on that and it would take you to their website, and it might actually be behind a paywall. Now that means that you would have to pay in order to read that article. That's an unfortunate thing, because if you really did this the right way, you can get this entire citation, again, submit it to us through the catalog, and we could probably get that for free for you. So I wanted to mention that there's a great way to do that, to get those articles for free. You don't need to be paying for them. A couple notes. One of the great things about this is that you have here on the left-hand side cited by, and it's telling you the number of citations. That is how many times this particular article has been cited by other people. The higher the number, the more influential that article is. So if you're working on your lit review and for some reason you're using Google Scholar, and you'll notice that this particular one that I'm looking at now here, Contemporary Fictions of Multiculturalism, this is an article and it hasn't been cited at all. Well, I probably don't want to bother with it at that point. Whereas here, this one has been cited 36 times. That would be a good indication that it is an influential article. You actually should be using that for your literature review. Another great thing about this is that there's a citation feature. So click on citation, and there's again your APA format to be put into your paper. Again, you can and should set your date range. The only issue with that is not necessarily the date range of when it was published. Google sometimes does the date in which it was added to their database, not necessarily when the article was published. So sometimes an article from 1936 might show up in the date range of 2010 to 2015, and that's just a matter of Google not being perfect with this. You can also sort this by date or by relevance. Right now it's searching by relevance. That is, it's looking at those that are closest to the two words that I entered in. You could search by date. Okay, so for some reason it did that, and I have no idea what it just did, but okay, you can search by date, and that will arrange the findings by date. All right, so some thoughts about Google Scholar from a librarian. If you're just trying to see what's out there on an idea, go ahead and Google it. There's no harm. But keep in mind that Google does not have everything. In fact, Google has never reported what it has in Google Scholar, how often it's updated, or if any of it gets updated for that matter. What appears in Google Scholar is what Google can get without going behind paywalls and without having passwords. So it just drags the internet and finds everything that it can. But most databases, most academic journals are behind these paywalls. They're parts of these databases that are available to libraries. And so it doesn't have necessarily all of those items. What you see listed on Google Scholar may be behind a paywall. That is, you may have to pay to see the article, which is a shame because as a student, you have free access through our databases to thousands of journals, and most everything else we should be able to get through interlibrary loan for free. And lastly, searching on Google Scholar is based on keywords, known authors or known titles. There is no ways to search using subject headings. So Google Scholar is not nearly as efficient as it could be. What you end up searching for is keywords as opposed to a subject heading. And so you end up with a ton of junk to wade through to find some of the best material. I tend to make Google Scholar a last resort. I know other librarians who start there, but I don't see the real advantage of starting with it, especially if I may be changing keywords based on finding better subject headings. So Google Scholar is not necessarily the best, most efficient thing for finding what's out there. So that concludes our instruction on research strategies. Again, if you want more about research strategies or about search techniques, look for those specific LibGuides. An edited recording of this webinar will be posted to the MASL LibGuide in about 2 weeks. I need to edit out all those blahs and my ums. It takes me a couple weeks to get through all of that. So thank you for your time. Now, if you have specific research-related questions, please put them into the chat now, or I'm going to go ahead and turn off the or unmute mics. So if you have a question, you can go ahead and ask those now. So, Ginger Road, sometimes I cannot get my PDFs to download on my Mac. I can do it at work on a PC, though. Yeah, that actually is an issue that goes back to Steve Jobs when he was the head of Macintosh and Apple. Um, he and the head of the Adobe company, the company that created the PDFs, they actually got into an argument, and Steve Jobs was making demands, and the gentleman, I can't remember his name, the head of Adobe, basically said, "Well, use what this is what we have. Feel free to use it, but we're not going to change for you." And so ever since then, um, Macs really don't have, how do I say this, they don't necessarily have all of the right codecs to allow them to open all PDFs. So that's an issue of it being a Mac. I know there's a lot of apps available out there that can typically get the vast majority, but yeah. No, it's not an issue of you doing something wrong. It's an issue of um, a couple of stubborn people. All right. Well, thank you all for showing up. Thanks for participating. I really hope that you found some things that were good and useful for your projects. Good luck in this next course as you're taking the lit review and working on the lit review. Again, if you've got questions, feel free to email and we can work our way through some of those subject headings and get you some good topics and some good articles. All right. With that, I will say thank you and have a great afternoon. Bye.